light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. What's good, sports fans? Oh, coming in hot. It's your boy Aaron Yowell, and you are listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Welcome to episode 23 of the show. Hope you all had a fantastic week. I know a lot of you trying to get back in the swing of work. It's a 4-day week for me, and I feel like the 4-day weeks where the Monday is the day off are always the hardest. I felt like that as a teacher, feel like that in the new job. And I got to be honest with you, the girls were out of town this week, so I put in 4 12-hour days. But let's do this thing right, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fans of all ages, it is time we ascend to the top of the peak and breathe in that rarefied mountain air as I bring you sports takes a mile above the rest. On tonight's show, we will talk about the end of the Broncos 23-24 season and surely the end of the Russell Wilson era in Denver. We'll also talk about the week for both the Nuggets, who are currently playing, and the Avalanche. And in crunch time, we're going to officially put the Broncos to bed with a retrospective. But before we get to all that is good, let us handle our business. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and all of our show pages with personal bios and the podcast feed for each individual show, including this one, Mile High Musings. Check out the show page at iesportsradio.com/Mile High Musings. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, and so much more. For nearly a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans, and we thank each and every one of you for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. What's good, sports fans? It's your boy Aaron Yowell from Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I am super excited to tell you about a new sponsor on the network, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket beef jerky offers gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. That's my favorite part. This is some of the best beef jerky you can get your hands on. Check them out online, planetjerky.com. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. Yo, let's kick off today's Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports with those Denver Broncos.
Go Broncos!
That's right, Penny Quinn, with nothing more than my prediction on the line, and that's not totally true. Some dudes were playing for jobs. The Broncos traveled to Vegas to take on the Raiders in the final game of this roller coaster season. And the year ended how it started, boys and girls. Broncos lost to Vegas 27-14. The loss marks Denver's 8th straight season of missing the playoffs and 7th straight losing season. It boils down to we haven't been to the playoffs since we won our last Super Bowl. Thank you, Peyton Manning and Von Miller. And we haven't had a winning season since, well, neither of my daughters were here yet, so it's been a hell of a long time. The explicit button is on tonight because it's the end of the Broncos season. We lost to the damn Raiders, so it might get spicy. Larry B., Happy New Year, brother. Glad that I got a Raiders fan in chat right away. 2 on the Broncos, which means you guys finished ahead of us in the division. Oh, boise. Well, let's start with something I liked. Jarrett Stidham. He was going to be under the hot seat a lot today because of Max Crosby and what Max Crosby can do in the pass rush. But Stidham finished 20 of 34 for 272, a touchdown, and an INT. The INT was late. But, the Broncos couldn't get the run game going to help Stidham out, which I think is the catalyst to every single solitary loss this year, minus that terrible Miami one. Javonte Williams led the team with 32 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. That's just not good enough, man. Brandon Johnson had 4 catches for 88 yards to lead the way. Jerry Jeudy had a touchdown in this one, but let's be real. Max Crosby is stupid good at his job. And the Broncos, well, I think whether or not they had Mike McGlinchey in this one, had no answer. There were a lot of plays where unblocked was the strategy. And let me tell you, that was a poor one. That's not a good way to do it. He disrupted the pocket every time. Every time the Broncos route back to pass. If he didn't get home, he changed the pocket and other guys for the Raiders were getting home. That's for sure. And I spent a lot of time watching the offensive plays, trying to find where Crosby was lining up, which was always crazy wide. And how the Broncos were trying, emphasis on trying, to slow him down. And they didn't do a really good job of it. First drive, everybody kind of looked like they were throwing some feel-out punches, and then when the Broncos got the offense going a little bit in the first quarter and end of this into the second, I thought we were going to be okay. I thought Crosby was going to get his, but I thought we were going to kind of be able to dice things up around him, and then we just ended up peeing down our leg. Larry B's in chat. Ralph's in chat. Ralph, welcome. I know, Ralph, you're relatively new to the network, so thanks for tuning in, I believe. If not, I'm sorry. 48-4. It's been a long week, and, I'm dealing with the Broncos loss. Larry B. Crosby is a gem, and we used to have one like that. His name was Von Miller. But, oh well. At the end of the day, I think Stidham gave you nothing worse than what Russell Wilson would have given you in that game and or all year. Straight up. There were multiple plays in that game that I think would have gone a lot worse had 3 been in the backfield. So I saw a lot of times where Wilson probably would have spun out of it instead of just continuing to run forward or horizontal. And spinning out of it was going to get us 5 or 6 extra yards lost on that sack. So no matter what, the Broncos are our ride or die here. We will always love them and cheer for them. That's just how my family is built. That team brings our family together. We, me and mine, my mother, my grandmother, my sister, her husband, their kids, we all get together on Sundays and we watch Broncos. And we eat food and we fellowship and we get to hang out. And I think that's what it boils down to. I mean, every game, win, lose, or draw, I get excited for it, at least for the first little bit. And then they pull the rug out from underneath my feet. But
in this house, we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos.
No matter what. So I think that's the definition of a ride or die. And I find myself already in that position that I'm in every year of, God, next year's got to be better, right? And I'm looking forward to what a full year under Sean Payton will do, a full calendar year. And, even though we're going to eat $80 million, Russ has got to go. We're going to talk more about it in the fourth segment. That was a little bit of a downer first quarter, but we're going to take a break. And on the other side, I want to talk Nuggets, who are currently beating the daylights out of the terrible, terrible Detroit Pistons. You are listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey yo, what's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff for my people on the 913 South. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's a quick one, but do check out Bishop. And this is KC Sports Mondays at 2 Mountain. I'm going to give a lot of love to my Monday shows today because today is Sunday. And shout out to Ralph and the Yinzer Report, second episode for Ralph coming up on Tuesday. So we're really pumped about that. But we're glad to have a couple people in chat. Don't forget to give us a follow over on X at milehighmusings_IESR. And don't forget to give all of our shows a follow over on social media. So this week, the basketball gods giveth, and the basketball gods taketh away. Nuggets have had themselves quite a week, and they're currently having themselves quite a week, up 17 as we speak. But they started off the week Tuesday with a win against the Charlotte Hornets, 111-93. On to happy thoughts. Yeah, how about them Nuggets? We're going to go happy thoughts for a little bit, and then we're going to end the podcast on a downer. Because, today is one of those weird, it's a miserable sandwich. We're going to have miserable bread, we're going to have tasty in the middle, and then miserable bread. So Jamal Murray led the way for the Nuggets against the Hornets with 25 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists, and the best starting five in the association held serve on this night. AG, in his first game back since the dog bite, had 10 points and 2 boards in limited minutes. And we had us a yeah, Mike game. MPJ had 22 and 8, and I don't think enough people, certainly I'm not, but I'm going to go ahead and broad generalize this here. I don't think enough people around the association are giving Mike enough credit for his rebounding this year. Mike is averaging more rebounds per game than anyone on the Nuggets not named Nikola Jokic. So, that is what it is. Taryn, good evening. Thanks for being in chat. Thank you for the shout out. You missed your drop already, but don't worry, I'll play it again. And speaking of greatness, besides Taryn, Jokic had himself an understated game. Jokic finished with 13 and 11 and 6 assists, but he went 6 of 7 from the field in the game. Dude's not missing many shots. So, it is what it is. Reggie led the bench with 15, and the Nuggets bench outscored the Hornets 34-17. And the crazy thing about that stat is that the bench players for the Nuggets were all in the minus. They were all in the minus for that game. Now, when your starters are at worst a plus 26, I really think you can deal. And on Thursday night, we had ourselves a primetime rematch of that Christmas Day game. And let us not forget what Steve Kerr said about Jokic after Christmas Day. That Jokic was a foul grifter. And that the association officiates terrible. And they shouldn't allow that product to happen. Well, I'm going to tell you, he doubled down on it. But also, as I'm watching the Nuggets play right now, the Nuggets have the worst whistle in the entire NBA. Jokic has 4 points, but he has a double-double with assists and rebounds, so who gives a crap? But I watched a sequence where the refs were just picking on him, literally. He got pushed in the back, he got called for a tech for a flop, and then he did the exact same thing on the defensive end, and they called him for a foul. So don't tell me that he's not getting a bad whistle. He's getting a terrible whistle. And they are doing well. Avalanche are doing well too, so thank God for my indoor sports. We're up 18 with 5.5 left. Jokic hasn't seen the floor in a while. I don't think he cares enough because he wasn't interested in scoring in this game. Jamal Murray's killing it, and we'll get there in a minute. But going back to Thursday, the game ended up being everything that a basketball fan should want. Casual fan, diehard, you name it. Well, I guess unless you really, really love defense. But, again, for the casual fan, Thursday night was your game. And inside my own family, this is a rivalry game for us. My sister and her kids love the Warriors and Steph Curry. God bless them. There is forgiveness in the eyes of the Lord, that's for sure. Her kids were impressionable youths when the Warriors went on their run, so respect. Also, I talked, I think, earlier in the year about, I don't mind Steph Curry. I think he has a lot of fun playing the game, and you don't see that a lot anymore, and I think that's a big deal. And I say that where my superstar, the best player in the league, looks miserable all the time. So that is what it is. But sorry, I'm doing a lot of ums tonight. That's not me. That is not who I am. At the end of the first half, the Nuggets were up 7 in this one, but then they had one of the most abysmal third quarters in recent memory, giving up 44 points, and they were down 13 going into the fourth. And I guess Jokic had him right where we wanted him, right? When I watch sports, any sports that has it, if the ESPN has that win probability graph for the game, I'm obsessed with it. I don't know why. I do it all the time. I'll open the ESPN app and I'll start following along with that graph. Makes sense, as my girl Penny would say. I'm uber math brained, so to see that is just kind of fun. And the graph for that game was just bonkers. Just bonkers. Jokic ties the game at 127 with 26 seconds to go. And the rest, as they say, is history. Denver gets a stop. And without the ability to advance the ball via a timeout, Jokic gets the ball in the backcourt and navigates his way to almost... I rewatched it again today to make sure I quoted this right. Not quite, but pretty darn close to where Steve Kerr was, who had been talking shit the entire game. The entire game. Jokic hits a 39-foot side sort of slingshot to win the game, 130 to 127. Y'all, Thursday night was a whole night for the boys from Ball Arena, which we'll get to the other half of it in segment 3. But, Greatness himself finished the game with a Sombor double, 34 points, 10 assists, and 9 boards, and 13 of 16 from the field, including 2 of 2 from 3, including the 39-foot game winner, right? AG was back in full effect on Thursday night against the Warriors. The man must have been bitten by a radioactive dog or something, because he finished with 30 points, including 6 of 7 from the free throw line, which, if you're a first-timer, that's great. If you're a Nuggets fan, we love you. But the Nuggets are terrible at the free throw line. They have been. They have been absolutely terrible this year. And so for AG, who's been one of the worst, to go 6 of 7, chef's kiss. He also had 9 boards. Jamal had 25. MPJ finished with only 8. But as we're seeing tonight, you don't have to score all the time if you're going to contribute. And P. Watt had 19 off the bench. The NBA loves rivalries. Here's your best one. Here's your best current Western Conference rivalry. It's not Jokic and Embiid. It's this one. It's this one because Kerr's going to run his mouth. It's the old guard versus the new guard. And the Nuggets have been dominating the Warriors since being bounced by them in the playoffs 2 years ago. And I guess you could go back to what, the Broncos players were saying about the rivalry with the Chiefs. If you're not going to make it competitive, how are you going to call it a rivalry? Well, the Warriors haven't been making it competitive recently. Oh, also Thursday night was the first of a back-to-back. Which sucks because it's not like it was a California back-to-back where we play, the Warriors and then one of the LA teams or go up to Sacramento. No. It was a play in Oakland, fly home, host the Magic, who have been a surprise team in the East this year. Nuggets led Friday's game against the Magic by 18 at one point, but damn, they got caught playing with their food again. Or were tired or something. I don't know. The Nuggets lose 122 to 120. Now, you want to talk about free throws, Steve Kerr. Paulo Banchero of the Magic shot 19 free throws in this game. That's one more than Jokic has ever shot in a game in his entire career. Not to say Banchero was grifting, but the Nuggets seriously have the worst whistle in the NBA, in the history of the NBA. I'm watching it unfold literally in front of my eyes against the worst team in the NBA. And what bothers me is that they're not letting players play. I get you don't want players to beat the daylights out of each other, and I want bad boys Pistons, but I don't think for one moment that Nikola Jokic is grifting. Oh, Christian Brown just tried to dunk hard on somebody and got fouled. He was going for a statement dunk. But I think that the Nuggets have the absolute worst whistle in the NBA. And I'm not one to complain about officials a lot or ever, really. It's honestly 35 years of watching this team every single season. And especially in the last 9 years with Jokic and his evolution and Jamal Murray and all that. It's terrible. I digress. The Nuggets had themselves another terrible third quarter against the Magic, being outscored 41-31, leaving them with just a 3-point lead heading into the fourth. The bench was outscored 41-27, and most of that was by Cole Anthony of the Magic, who had 23. Jokic had 24, 9, and 8 assists. I'm sorry, 29, 4, and 8 assists. Jamal had 20, Mike had 22, and AG had 16. The legs just weren't there at the end. And, the Nuggets are up right now, as we speak, 127-106 against the Pistons. The Nuggets are playing at home. They're wearing the black New City jerseys, which were the in-season tournament jerseys, which caught a lot of heat at the beginning. But I got to be honest with you, man, I love them. Now that I've seen them a lot, I love them. I think they're great. I like the way they look. I like the tribute to... Sorry. I love the tribute to Mile High and all that. Jokic has played 25 minutes. He has 4 points, 7 rebounds, 16 assists. 16 assists in this one. And Jamal Murray had 24 at halftime, has 37 now. MPJ has 18. KCP finally having an offensive game. 18 points for him, 15 for P. Watt off the bench, 13 for Reggie Jackson. DeAndre Jordan's getting some minutes. Nuggets they're doing what they should do against a bad team. And I can think of a lot of times where the Nuggets lose this game because they're playing around with their food. They're just dinking with it again. So Nuggets will move to 26-12 after this one. And, man, I believe that puts them a half game. No, that should put them a half game back, or a half game ahead of Oklahoma City, and a half game. Nope, sorry, I'm trying to do math on the fly. That puts them a half game ahead of Oklahoma City, a full game back of Minnesota, who was losing to Dallas last I saw in the Northwest Division. And that would put them really close to the top of the Western Conference, where they should be. And, I said this again last week, but I'm going to say it here. The Nuggets feel like they're having a bad season, and they're better than they were last year, and they record-wise, and I think chemistry-wise and all of that. And they won the championship last year. So, man, the Nuggets have emptied the bench. Jay Huff is in. Zeke is shooting threes. Good Lord. I think the Nuggets are going to be fine. And I'm not going to stress about them. It's a long season. We're not even the halfway point. So we're going to take a break. On the other side, let's stay inside and let's talk hockey. You, ladies and gentlemen, are listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Check out Chi-Town Weekly Mondays at 6 Mountain here on the network. You're listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio. We got Ralph, we got Larry B, we got Taryn in the chat. Nuggets are playing their Summer League roster on the floor right now, and we are going to go ahead and talk hockey. That's right. It was a Tuesday, Thursday kind of week, but segment 3 of this show is, why do we even play at that time of day? I wonder if the Avalanche look at their schedule and then look at Saturday matinee games and just pencil them in as a loss because, well, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, so hang on here. We have 2 other games before that to talk about, and they did actually play a little bit better earlier in the week. So as I said before, it was a Tuesday-Thursday week for both teams from Ball Arena. On Tuesday, the Avs won 5-4 in overtime over the New York Islanders. And the Avs were down 2-1 in this one going to the second and 4-3 going into the third. But, there's no quitting this team, I guess, unless it's before 7 p.m. on a Saturday. Can you tell I'm a little salty about yesterday's game? I am. Avs rallied back with a power play goal in the third by Big Val, his second of the game. Valeri Nichushkin just crushing it this year to tie it in overtime. And y'all, I said it last week. Nathan MacKinnon is currently the best hockey player on the planet. Full send, fight me. If you differ in opinion, let's agree to disagree, but you're wrong. Luckily, the Avs carried over a power play from the end of regulation, and Mac wasted no time. It took 32 seconds for MacKinnon to find the back of the net, scoring his 20th of the season and his third point of the night. Makar had 3 assists in the game, and as I mentioned, Val had 2. And then Jonathan Drouin, who's on a tear, and Devon Toews scored the other 2 for the Avs. So big dub, overtime dub. They were down. You like to see the resiliency, but Islanders aren't that great. And so you kind of want the Avs to do to the Islanders what the Nuggets did to the Pistons tonight. And then Thursday, the Avs made a little trip down south to my neck of the woods to take on the Dallas Stars. Now, the last time the Avs and Stars met, the Avs came back from 3-0 down to win 6-3. I'm sensing a theme here. MacKinnon bagged his 21st of the year to tie things up at the end of the first, and then the Stars quickly jumped on a couple of mistakes in the second. And if not for a late power play goal by Drouin, things could have been way worse. Drouin was really the regulation hero of this game. Spoiler alert. Avs were down 3-1 and then 4-2 at different points of this game, but they got puck luck late in the fourth with Georgiev pulled, which I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I never see the Avs score one with the goalie pulled. The Avs scored the tying goal with 1:09 to go. Mikko got credit for the most bananas goal of the night. I never, you see it, you watch the overhead replay 1,000 times, you see it go in, you see it not go in. I don't know. It was insane. Logan O'Connor was there. There's like 55 dudes at the net. Whatever. But in overtime, Nathan MacKinnon is him, y'all. He is him. And this comes on the same night as Jokic hitting the game winner against Golden State. Mac's goal happened first, and that's when I knew I should have stayed up and watched the Nuggets game. So I was fighting with myself. Being in Dallas, not having, Bally Sports, because that whole thing, I don't even want to get into that. And I don't know enough to get into that, but can't watch the Avs Stars live. Can't watch any of my teams, any of my Colorado teams when they come to the Dallas area unless they're on ESPN, TNT, whatever. But I'm refreshing Twitter, trying to find ways. It's because I really don't want to download a virus on my computer, let's be honest. But I'm following along with the game. I'm watching highlights, and I watched McKinnon's goal 10 times in a row, probably, and giggled like a small child every time. And then I tried to lay my head down after a long day and knowing I had to get up wicked early to be on a job site an hour and a half away by 7 a.m. the next morning. I didn't fall asleep till after midnight, that's for sure. I should have just stayed up and watched the Nuggets game. Then I wouldn't have slept the whole night. Oh my gosh. If I would have watched McKinnon's goal and then watched Jokic hit that thing, I would have had to go run down the street or something. But, the whole last sequence for the Avs in that Stars game was a masterclass. Devon Toews shut down Jason Robertson, and then the play that MacKinnon made off the boards to himself, and then he turns on the afterburners and looks off Scott Wedgwood, who had no chance at all. It was pure art, y'all. Chef's kiss to that. Too bad Saturday happened. The Avs hosted the red-hot Florida Panthers on a Saturday afternoon at home, and my God, those Saturday games are just terrible for the Avs. I don't get it. They're awful. They're awful. It was like when the Michael Jordan Bulls would come to Denver and play the Nuggets. You could always pencil in a loss for the Bulls that game. I can think of a handful of times watching Jordan come into town as a kid. Nuggets beat him every time. I don't know if it was the altitude. I don't know if MJ just didn't give a crap because the Nuggets were pretty terrible. during those years, but I mean, that's a Saturday game for the Avs. Now, Florida jumped out 3-0 in less than 8 minutes, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I was so shocked. I was tired from 48 hours and 4 days, and I was folding laundry and couldn't see straight, and I don't know what was going on. So I thought for sure I was reading the score wrong, or I had looked up, missed something, and whatever. And then just as I kind of got my bearings and realized that how bad it was going to be, the Avs stormed right back, scoring 3 of their own in the first 4.5 minutes of the second. I could not believe it. I was like, well, all right. I was texting with my dad. I was like, we scored the first one. I was like, all right, we're one play away from being one play away, which is such a cliche thing. And literally as I hit send, we scored our next goal. And my next text was, well, there's that. And then not that long after that, I texted him back and I said, just like that. Avs are down 4-3 at the end of the second. Drouin tied it at 4. Drouin's on a tear, y'all. Jonathan Drouin is on a tear, and he has got to be loving playing with the Avs. Some people fit, man. It's like the Russell Wilson thing, I guess. Some people fit a system. Thomas Tatar did not, and we sent him to Seattle. I don't think Ryan Johansson is fitting, and I was the biggest Ryjo fan at the beginning of the year. I don't think he's fitting the system. And he's probably on his way out. If not at the trade deadline, surely at the end of the year, we're going to try to move him. Jonathan Drouin fits, and I bet he loves it. And everybody's like, oh, it's the Halifax homies. He's playing next to his buddy, his childhood friend. It doesn't matter. Drouin's doing things without Nathan MacKinnon as a crutch. He's made some sweet goals in the last 2 weeks. Some snipes. Not because of MacKinnon. So I bet dude is loving life. It was after that goal, though. The wheels did fall off the bus. At 5-4, my wife and my daughters just got back from the in-laws, so it was pretty perfect timing, if you ask me. I had to shut it down. Needed to take care of my babies. Needed to make sure my wife had everything she needed. It was a long day for them, and I peeked back in to see the final. Panthers 8, Avs 4. Avs had to use both goalies in this game, and that is where I want to spend some time in this segment. Is the goalie play for the Avalanche has just got to be better. You look, we went on a stretch there where we weren't giving up a lot of shots, but what was happening is that Georgiev was letting in 3 goals on 9 shots, or 4 goals on 12. It's just terrible. It's gotta get better. So Ivan Prosvetov got the start against Florida and gave up 4 goals on 13 shots. So it's not like they're getting 50 chances and he's giving up 4 goals. That is one thing. That's a high save percentage comparatively. But 4 on 13 is bad. And then Georgiev came out of the bullpen to give up 3 on 15. Obviously, the last one was an empty netter, which why at that point are you pulling the goalie? Unless it was like pulled with 5 minutes left. Here's what blows my mind. Georgiev is first in the NHL in wins with 21. He has a 2.9 goals against average, which is 30th. 30th in the league. That's terrible. And his save percentage is .850. It's less than 900. And if it wasn't for Nathan MacKinnon's Hart Trophy campaign and all the offense in front of him on a nightly basis, we would be at the bottom of the league because of this man. And a lot of people say, oh, goalies need goal support. Dude is getting plenty of goal support. I look at the Avs goals for before they play every team, saying, okay, how many goals for versus how many goals against for that other team. Avs are consistently better than everybody else, but our goals against are terrible because Georgiev's terrible right now. I saw a lot of chatter on X about we need to trade for a number 1 and demote Georgie the 2. I don't know, man. I hear, and having never played the sport, this is all I can do. I hear talk that being a goalies are weird, and they get in their head a lot. So Georgie's probably in his head a lot right now. But something's got to change. Because both Georgiev and Prosvetov were terrible against the Panthers. And Prosvetov, in limited action for the whole year, has been no better. And I know the Avs feel like they can't throw Prosvetov out there. But he only has 4 wins. His goals against is above 3, thanks to that abysmal performance on Saturday. And his save percentage is exactly the same as Georgie's. It's terrible. You've got the best player on the planet right now doing S-tier God mode things. If it was NBA Jam, he's on fire. And you can't stop any. You get 3 goals in 9 shots, 4 and 13. And the goalies are putting this team in positions to have to fight back. Now, there have been a couple plays here and there where, you put players on skates, but I mean, the goalie play is simply not good enough for the Avalanche, and they need to take. Now, Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic are great at what they do in the front office, so I trust that they are going to take a long, hard look at exactly which of the things that is the downfall of the Avalanche right now is the thing that needs to be addressed first. And if it were me, it would be a coin flip between goalie and 2C. Or 3C, I guess, because Ross Colton's really playing 2C. Which is great. I'm fine with that. But Ryan Johansson's not working out. And they're moving him all around left, right, and center, and not really. They're just moving him 2, 3, 4th line, doesn't matter. Because they're trying to hide him. So, goalies have got to get better, but I trust the Avs front office to make a move. We're going to take one more break. This is going to be a short one today. I have a feeling. We're going to take one more break, and on the other side, y'all, it's crunch time. You're listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Y'all check out Set Point Monday nights here on the network. Shout out to Taryn, who's always in chat, always supporting the show. And Taryn does a lot of great work here on the network. So do all of our hosts, y'all. I feel like I don't do half as much as some of these other folks. They work really hard. I just like to have fun, talk sports, and come on here Sunday nights and give you real perspective about teams that I love. And I have loved my entire life. But y'all, it's crunch time. And we got to put the Broncos to bed. Sports fans, it's that time of year where we thank our trusty steeds for the ride. And we put them in the barn so that they might rest up until next year. And some of our beloved Broncos, well, they might only stable on our farm for a short while until we can sell them off to someone who has better pastures for them to roam. Y'all, the Broncos finished 8-9 this year. 1 game worse than my preseason prediction. Damn it anyway. And 3rd in the AFC West. As I already mentioned tonight in segment 1, this is the 7th straight losing season for the Broncos and their 8th straight season missing the playoffs. So I'd like to break the season down. You could already tell that the tone of this segment got real somber. But
in this house, we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos.
That one was for Taryn, who lives for that drop. I live for that drop too. My 5, almost 6-year-old likes to quote that drop during Broncos games. She heard me record it, and it makes her laugh. But man, I want to break this season down into 4 quarters if I can. And I know it's 17 games, and it makes one of the quarters odd. My daughter, odd. But let's do it. The first quarter of the season, the Broncos were terrible. They were 1-3. They lost 2 very close games at the beginning of the year. Oh, and then they gave up the 70-burger. They lost a game to Vegas by 1 point. They lose to the Commanders by 2. They give up 70 in what was the most embarrassing performance I've ever seen from a Broncos team in my entire life. And then they beat the Chicago Bears on the road. Booyah. Barely. By a field goal, 31-28. So you move on to the second quarter of the season. The Broncos were 2-2. Moving on up. With losses to the Chiefs, barely, and the Jets, and wins against the Packers and the Chiefs. Oh, boy. Snapping an 8-year or 15-game losing streak against the Chiefs. I did look it up. It's crazy. Third quarter of the season was by far the Broncos' best quarter. They went 3-1, beating the Bills, Vikings, and Browns, and lost to the playoff-bound Texans. Shout out to the Houston Texans. Shout out to Space City Podcast here on the network. I think if we don't lose that game, I think the season starts to look different, because then we go into the final quarter and we go 2-3. Beating the Chargers twice. Sorry, Taryn. But losing to the Lions, the Patriots, and the Raiders today. It's tough, man. Russell Wilson finished as the team's leading passer with 3,070 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 8 INTs, which was much better than last year. Still not good enough. He was 1,700 yards, I think, behind the NFL leading passer. I don't need him to sling the ball all over the place. I'd actually rather the Broncos lead the NFL in rushing. But his season QBR was 50. That's 21st in the league. And I just want to put this into perspective for people who don't know what QBR is. Talk about QBR. It's your quarterback rating, and it takes into consideration all of the statistics. And he was 21st in the league, and Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott led the league with QBRs of 72.8 and 72.7 respectively. That's bad. I mean, you're in the bottom half of the league. That's bad. Javonte Williams, this year returning after tearing his ACL last season, led the team with 774 rushing yards on 217 carries and 3 touchdowns. He averaged 3.6, and here's the big problem. And I've said this show after show. I've been on other folks' shows and said it. The Broncos were awful at running the football this year, and Sean Payton's offense is about running the football, an intermediate passing game to open up some shots. But the Broncos as a team rushed for 1,810 yards on the entire season. And to prove how terrible that was, Christian McCaffrey, born and raised in Denver, Valor Christian alum, shout out, led the NFL with 1,459 yards rushing by himself. So the Broncos outrushed CMC by like 300 yards. That's terrible. TRBL, terrible. And as expected, this season, Cortland Sutton led the team in receiving yards with 772 on 59 catches, and led the team in receiving touchdowns with 10. And I guess you could sum this season up, and really the last 2 seasons are the sum of an experiment that was a total failure. As the end, it has to be the end of the Russell Wilson era in Denver. And this Bronco fan says, thank you, now leave. You came in with a diva attitude. You had 2 parking spots, your own office, your own quarterback coach, and you refused to work with the team's quarterback coach. And you had a garbage attitude towards Nathaniel Hackett, whom I didn't love as a head coach. And then you acted like you were reformed when Sean Payton got there. But he was the one that had to get rid of your 2 parking spots and your office, and to tell you that that's not how things are going to go anymore. I like Russell as a person. Well, as a face. I don't know him as a person. But he's not the answer. He was not the solution this year, and we paid him to be the solution. We're going to eat $80 million in cap money. And we're going to be bad for a little bit. I think Sean Payton knows that. Broncos fans don't know that. If they do know that, they're just can be idiots sometimes. And the Broncos fans, man, I see it all the time on social media, and I've heard a lot of other podcasts nationally asking for the same things that I'm asking for Broncos fans to do, and it's to chill the hell out. It's to chill out. It's this doomsday stuff. Like, Broncos could be bad next year. Yeah, 80. Let's ride out the door, Larry B. And 80 mil, yes. 80 mil in dead cap money. That's not including if he would have got hurt today against your Raiders. We would have owed him another 35 on top of that. And here's the thing. I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again. Russell Wilson came in, signed a $242 million deal, and the way it was structured, it was basically like, you're going to win with me and what little pieces you have right now, and you're only going to win with that. And if we look great, it's awesome. And if we don't look great, it's because you didn't put enough things around me. Well, truth of the matter is, Russell Wilson, your contract was not negotiated in a way for you to have things to be put around you. Not a good offensive line, which our offensive line was much better this year than it was last year. I will tell you that. And part of that was the injury bug. Our running backs, I like Javonte Williams. He was hurt. I like Jaleel McLaughlin. Rookie. I like Samaje Perine, a little bit older. But you're not making the plays, Russ, and you don't fit in the offense. And so we didn't really have a tight end, which is a vital part of the Sean Payton offense. And you had a hard time hitting receivers because you can't see over our 6'4" and up offensive line. So thank you, but go. Sean Payton crushed the diva attitude, not only with Russ, but with Frank Clark and Randy Gregory. And it's of my opinion, I am of the opinion, that you are better off with the coach and not the quarterback. Look at the Chargers. Sorry, Taryn. I just shouted you out as hardworking, and now I'm going to dunk on your Chargers. They have a great quarterback. Well, potentially a great quarterback, but they can't figure out the coach around him. And I know it's supposed to be Sean Payton and all this jazz, and maybe Sean Payton's kicking himself for not taking that job. But, I have more faith in the Broncos under Sean Payton than I do with Russell Wilson, and insert any coach here. Broncos need to draft a rookie quarterback in the first round and fully commit to developing that young man. And I don't care if it's J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr., Drake May, I don't care. I watched the national semifinals last week. God, I really loved what I saw from Michael Penix Jr. I liked what I saw from J.J. McCarthy. I was trying to see them in Sean Payton offense. I think J.J. McCarthy's a better fit because of the style of offense that he plays in at Michigan. Don't get me wrong. I'll take any of those dudes in the orange and blue. I'll take Drake May in the orange and blue. Let's go. But I think they need to draft a first-round quarterback and fully commit to that development. Sean Payton's good enough. The pieces around it are good enough. Our defense is good enough. Vance Joseph figured that out after the first quarter of the season. My God, they were looking bad. And the turnaround for the Broncos defense is the story of the year. The negative story and what people are going to make meals out of is this whole Russell Wilson debacle and this failed experiment. I was in HEB, the grocery store, if you're not from Texas. But at HEB here, everything's better, literally. And it is true. It's true. I didn't believe it. It was a down south thing, and my wife grew up a little further south than this, or where they had HEBs, and I was like, no. But now that we have one in town, it is truly better. Anyways, I was at HEB and wearing my Broncos hat, like I always do. This guy taps me on the shoulder and he goes, "Broncos, huh?" And I went, "Yeah, man, born and raised." I said, "Moved here for work and family and stuff." And he goes, "I'm from New Orleans. I missed the hell out of my coach." And I was like, "Well, thank you, because I like your coach." And he goes, "What's the deal with the Russell Wilson stuff?" And so I told him, a lot of the things that I've talked about on the show, and especially some of the stuff that I just talked about with the lack of financial flexibility because of Russell's contract and things like that. And I said, "I got to be honest with you, man. Doesn't work. Didn't work. And I trust Sean Payton. And if you're not going to be willing to help the team financially by restructuring or by structuring your contract in the first place in a way that gives the team financial flexibility to surround you with assets, frankly, I don't need that shit on my team. So jog on. I'm done." I wouldn't be surprised if Jarrett Stidham is the starting quarterback going into week 1 next year. He's on a 2-year, $5 million contract, and 2 and 10, I guess. And Walmart brand Russell Wilson gave you at least what Russell would have given you in these last 2 games, if not better. So let's let him fight for a job with some kid. I don't know. The last time the Broncos, when was the last time the Broncos developed a quarterback? Oh, the answer is 1983 when they got John Elway, and that did pay dividends. Now, you can look and be like, well, they tried with Drew Lock and they tried with Jay Cutler and this, that, and the other. But they didn't because both of those quarterbacks experienced regime changes, which slowed their development. Total rebuild. Things will get better. I believe in Peyton. I do too. Total rebuild scares me because I don't want to be fourth anymore. I don't want to be worst in the division anymore. I hate that we finished third behind you guys, Larry. I was really hoping that we would finish at least second, especially because we beat the Chiefs this year. I was hoping we'd beat you guys and snap that streak too. But yeah, you get a Peyton in the house and it does work out. Thank you, Sheriff. So I think it's going to be a silly offseason for those Denver Broncos. I think we're in for a wild ride. Oh, I said it. Oh my God, I said it. And I'm very interested. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the 23rd episode of Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm going to shout out Larry B, Taryn, and Ralph for being in the chat tonight. Yinzer Report on Tuesday, second episode coming up. Don't forget to give us a follow. Check out the website. Check out everybody on the network. And the Raiders do in the basement, but not as much as the Broncos recently. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to be with you during this Broncos season. Stay tuned for more Avs, Nuggets. We're going to get more into college basketball as the season rolls on. And then, of course, we've got to start covering things once silly season gets going. And let's see how the Broncos do rebuild this thing. My name is Aaron Yao, and I am signing off from the top of the mountain with a big old fat mile-high salute saying, stay good, sports fans.
Go Broncos!